Hello and welcome back to another Let's Learn Kerbal Space program. My name is Silverlink and I'll be your guide today. This should be a bit of a short video, so let's dive into mission control and take a look. We're going to take a look at the perfect circle today. So we have to establish an orbit between an orbit around Kerbin with an Apoapsis and Periapsis, each between 99 and 101 kilometers. So that means both of our Apoapsis and our Periapsis need to be within that range, which means we are going to have a relatively perfect circle for our orbit. So let's dive into the VAB and take a look. Alright, inside the VAB here, we're just going to open our Orbiter 1 vessel that we had saved before. And because this is a rocket that we know is going to get us into orbit and give us a little bit of room to play around. If you guys want to build this for yourself, we started with the Mark 1 command pod. We strapped a parachute on the top. We have a decoupler. Now, the one thing I am going to do is I'm going to add a heat shield to this because we didn't have heat shield available when we built our Orbiter 1. So we're going to add the heat shield in. It's followed by another decoupler. We've got a fuel tank in here and our Terrier engine. Followed by another decoupler. There's our Terrier engine. We've got a decoupler under here. We've got a few more fuel tanks. We've got some FLT 200s here. You could use a couple of FLT 800s if you want. Some aerodynamic wings and a swivel engine on the bottom so that we have our gimbaling. So it's a pretty straightforward rocket. It's one that we built before in a previous video. So if you want a few more details, go ahead and check that out. The orbiting video, which should be linked in the top right-hand corner right about now. So let's go ahead and get this launched. All right, here we are on the launch pad getting ready to go. Not much to say here. This is going to be a typical launch. So we're going to start our gravity turn between 500 and 1500 meters. We're going to aim for the 45-degree marker at the 10-kilometer mark. And we're going to aim for 35 degrees at the 25-kilometer mark. So it should be pretty straightforward for us here. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's get our launch. We'll go through our countdown. Enjoy our nice launch sequence here. And here we go. We've taken off. So this will be the same thing that we've done a few times. All we're trying to do is get into an orbit. It doesn't matter what our Apoapsis and Periapsis is right now. We just want to hit at least our 70-degree or 70-kilometer marker because that's where we'll get into a relatively stable orbit. But that's all we need to get to, and then we're going to fine-tune it from there once we get up and around. So here we go. We passed the 1500 mark. We're at the 95-degree marker. I'm going to slowly continue tipping over closer to 45 degrees as we get closer and closer to the 10-degree marker. We're at 3.5 kilometers now. I'm tipping over a little bit quickly, so I'm just going to shoot towards our Apoapsis right now to build up a little bit of time and keep our efficiencies up. You can see our Apoapsis time is increasing here. We want to get this between 50 seconds, and a minute and 20 seconds. We're going to keep falling over a little bit more. Now, we've passed the 10-degree marker, and I should be at 45 degrees, so I'm too high up right now. So I'm going to tilt over a little bit quicker. Our Apoapsis is currently 35 kilometers. We want to get that number up above 70. So we're just going to keep tilting over here. Yeah, and I'm way high right now, but we have lots of fuel in this, so it should be a fine enough launch. But yeah, we're just gonna keep shooting away. We're now approaching our orbit. All right, my Apoapsis is at 86 kilometers right now, so I'm gonna cut my engines there. We're gonna pop on over, and we're gonna create a maneuver node on the map screen by clicking on the Apoapsis point. We're gonna click on our maneuver node, and we're going to burn prograde, so that we can get a circular orbit at least this 85-kilometer mark. We're going to pull this out here. And again, this is stuff that we've done before. If you guys have a little bit of practice at orbit, this should be nothing new. We're going to go until our Apoapsis and Periapsis switch around. So our Periapsis is now 76 kilometers. Our Apoapsis will be 161. So I'm overshooting here. So I'm going to pull back a little bit. We're going to drop this down. So our Apoapsis is around 100 kilometers. We're going to go 99.98 there. And actually, it looks like that's dropping our Periapsis down quite a bit, so we're going to fire a little bit before. And I'm going to recreate this maneuver node here. Periapsis at 62. Apoapsis is 113 and 62. So it looks like I'm going to be a little bit off here. I want to get everything up at least 70 kilometers. And then we'll do some fine-tuning from there. All right, 70K and 120K. So that should be fine enough to get us started. We're going to burn for 48 seconds, and we're going to burn in 10. So let's get ready. Let's line up to our target, which should be along our prograde marker. 2, 1, and we'll start our burn. We're going to burn out here. And I don't need my maneuver node now. We just wanted to get that for some timing. I'm out of engines, so I'm going to restage to our next stage, our next Terrier engine stage. And we're going to keep firing towards our Apoapsis. And we're going to let this slowly push out all the way out so that we get a nice circular orbit here. Let this keep pushing out further and further, further. Here we go. We're starting to wrap around the planet. All right, let's take a look at our Apoapsis and our Periapsis. So I need to bring my Periapsis up a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to get caught in Kerbin's gravity well, and we'll get pulled down to the planet. All right, so we're at 72 and 99 kilometers, so this is perfect right now, because we need to get between 99 and 101 kilometers. So our Apoapsis is 99K, our Periapsis is 73K, so we need to bring our Periapsis up. And the way we do that is we head over to our Apoapsis, and we're going to create another maneuver node. And we're going to push out prograde some more to push our Periapsis out. Now, what I would like to see is our secondary marker here, but it's not showing me that right now. There we go. So we'll kind of float around until we get it. Periapsis at 96K, 97, 98... 99 kilometers. So 99.3. Let's get this up to 100. And there we go. That should get us up to 100. So if you guys overshoot, all you need to do is get to the opposite end and burn retrograde. So it's really just bouncing back and forth between your Periapsis and your Apoapsis and pushing your orbit out or inwards in order to get this perfect circle. So let's say we overshoot here. If we overshot, all we do is get back to our opposite point. So we would get back to, what is our Periapsis right now. And we would burn retrograde in order to bring our orbit back in on the opposite end. So you can also use your markers in the bottom left corner here. You can see we have an Apoapsis of 99.831 and a Periapsis of 73 kilometers. So really what I want to do is I want to get to my Apoapsis point, and I'll burn prograde to bring up my Periapsis until it's at that marker, at that 99 to 101 kilometers. And it's just bouncing back and forth between burning prograde and retrograde in order to get those in. So I'm going to warp to our maneuver node here. And you can see I actually won't even need our maneuver node here. I'm going to delete it. Oh, and it looks like now I'm just caught in a time warp. I should have waited. So let's rotate back over as we approach our Apoapsis. We'll get a little bit closer here. Okay, and I'm going to line up prograde. And I'm going to highlight my curb and periapsis. I'm going to get a little bit closer to my apoapsis. Going to get this nice and close. And I'm just going to watch my periapsis in the bottom left corner. So now that I'm close to my apoapsis, I'm close enough here that I can start burning. And I'm just going to burn my engines a small amount. I'm just going to use shift in order to push it up. And you can see my periapsis is increasing. So is my apoapsis, but my apoapsis isn't increasing by near enough. Now my apoapsis is pushing out a little bit more. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to let myself get a little bit closer to the apoapsis again. We're going to time maneuver up. Get nice and close to the apoapsis. And we'll continue burning prograde to push up our periapsis. And there we go. We've completed our mission. We now have a periapsis of 99.8 kilometers and an apoapsis of 100.842 kilometers. So there we go. We have docked. Now at this point, it's just going to be returning home. So what I'll do is I'll head over to our apoapsis, create a maneuver plan. Actually, we don't even need a maneuver plan. We're just going to time warp over to our apoapsis. We're going to line up retrograde. And then we're going to burn retrograde to get to that 35 kilometer marker so that we get pulled into the planet and we can land safely. So let's get to our apoapsis. Slow down here. We'll get lined back up with our retrograde marker, and we'll start burning retrograde. And we'll bring our periapsis down to 35 kilometers, which is going to bring us close enough to the planet that we'll just get pulled in. So there's 31 kilometers. And we still have a little bit of fuel left over, even with my terrible launch here. So at this point, we don't need our last stage. I can decouple it because we're going to land into the planet. So we'll just decouple here. And let's time warp. So we get pulled into the planet. You can see we're approaching Kerbin here, so our time warp slows down. And we're at 64 kilometers. Slowly coming in here. So I'm going to time warp this ahead in the video, just to speed things up a little bit. Alright, and here we go. We've just passed the 35 kilometer marker. So we are now coming into Kerbin's atmosphere. We have our nice heating effects. Thankfully, our heat shield is going to keep us protected. And we are just going to bring ourselves in for a landing here. We're at 22K, 21K. We're still coming in a little bit too fast for our parachute. So I'm going to let this slow down a little bit more. I'm going to wait till I'm about 300 meters per second, which is about now. I'm going to reduce my time warp, and I'm going to stage my parachute. Now remember, if your parachute isn't deploying, check your time warp settings, because it won't deploy unless it's at 1x. So you can just hit the comma key on your keyboard in order to bring it back down. If you're starting to panic, just pause the game, and then you can kind of reset, collect your thoughts, and get everything lined up properly. So we're now about 2 kilometers up. We're coming down at 250 meters per second. And it looks like we're going to get a nice soft landing here. Our parachute fully deploys out. And everything is safe and sound. So I'm going to time warp ahead again here so that we can just land a little bit faster. And that's it. That's our mission. That's how you get a perfect circle. So really what it is you establish a base orbit of at least 70 kilometers around Kerbin. And then you slowly push your apoapsis and your periapsis out. Just little bit by little bit, and just keep an eye on the actual markers on the map screen. And you can see as you reach 100 kilometers, and then you can get to that apoapsis point and push your periapsis out, and you just go back and forth like that until you've reached that perfect circle. But that's all there is to it. I'm going to collect a little bit of science here because we haven't gotten science from this biome yet. We've got that collected, and I might as well do an EVA. Bring our time warp back down, and we'll EVA here. We're going to run another crew report and collect ourselves some new science from our new biome, because we want all of that juicy, juicy science, all that tasty, tasty science that we can get. Perfect. So we're going to bring 10 science back with us. We're going to press F to grab onto our capsule again, press B to board, and then that's it. We'll hit escape, we'll recover our vessel, and we'll head back to the KSC. So from here, we'll head to mission control. We'll hand in our mission, the perfect circle. We've established the orbit around Kerbin with an Apoapsis and Periapsis between 99 and 101 kilometers. We're getting 100 science for that. So we will submit. Well done. And right after opening statements, you have great timing. We were able to show a circular orbit still has a high and a low point using the feed from your mission. Our lawyer also did a compelling demonstration with a hula hoop. Things got heated after the Periapsis team challenged us to a hula-off, but luckily our team won. You should have heard the closing statements. Do you trust a legal team that doesn't hoop? I rest my case. Powerful, really. I wish you could have been there. And there we go. We get to click our nice thanks science button, collect ourselves 100 science here, and we've got a new mission. It's eccentric. So this time, we want to create an eccentric orbit with a periapsis between 70 and 150 kilometers and an apoapsis between 300 and 8,400 kilometers. So this is going to be a very egg-shaped orbit, and that's something that we can take on during a future mission. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and we will see you all next time. Bye for now.